So this is Jordan Peterson trying to tell a humorous anecdote. This is Jordan Peterson doing stand-up, really. It's Jordan Peterson's attempt at stand-up. All right.
Eric Weinstein's term, he really nailed that. We're going to put out the IDW drinking song. This is funny. I got to tell you this story. It's so funny.
They're laughing before he actually said anything. That's the cue. You have to laugh. You have to laugh. It's quite humorous. You have to please politely laugh at what I'm telling you is funny.
Working with this university down in Georgia, in Savannah, called Ralston, and it's a bricks and mortar institution, and we have some fun with it. And we were thinking about a motto. You know, you have a little shield, and then you have a Latin motto. And I asked the president of the university, Stephen Blackwood, what our motto. We started talking about what our motto might be, and I said, well, what's the Latin for "up yours, woke moralists"?
Because I said that, and I wasn't being ironic when I said that at the time. But now that everyone's laughing at me, I'm letting you know that I have a sense of humor about these things. When I threatened Twitter for blocking me for saying transphobic, for violating TOS. You know that's what he's referencing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who. And when he said that at the time, I was like, that's a real threat because the Supreme Court was going to overturn Section 230. But then, of course, we realized the internet is too big for capitalism to just shut it down. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, they bend the knee to corporate power. Thank God. And also, Clarence Thomas's wife is really into those QAnon websites, and the wives in their stories. They gotta have their stories. Women, you ever see Mad Men?
No.
It's just a funny line in the first episode where you're like, Reader's Digest says that smoking can kill you. He's on a smoking campaign, and the waiters are like, he's like, my wife says that. Women in their magazines.
What's the Latin for "up yours, woke moralists"? So he thought that was pretty funny, and it is pretty funny. I think that would be hilarious, actually, to have that in Latin. And then he said, well, that'd be a good motto. Maybe we need a drinking song. And I thought, well, that's a funny idea. So I don't know, a song popped into my mind. It's Liddy the Pink. It's a famous song from the 1960s. It's an old
I looked for it. It's not that
folk
famous.
song. We'll drink and drink and drink too. Lydia Pink. The pink. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. You get the idea. And I rewrote that as a parody of postmodern philosophy. Because that seemed to be the thing to do. And then we...
Now, you saw the song.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
First of all, the video was creepy. There was nothing funny about it. It was more like a window inside of his head about all these like famous philosophers that he will never be a member of. He will never be seriously taking like this. These are the group of people. There's a group of people that have rejected him. And
people who
modern day philosophers, yes, but what really hurts is the modern day philosophers, and this is like a jealousy. Like they show him in a Taco Bell, some kind of Taco Bell outfit. Mm-hmm. I think that's how he feels around those people. What were you gonna say?
I forgot. Yeah.
Oh, but it was very much like the Monty Python. Now, I like Monty Python.
Less disturbing.
I like Monty Python, but there is an element of Monty Python that a lot of nerds find attractive not because it's funny, they appreciate the humor, but because they appreciate the references.
And also because there's
a lot of nerds that don't really have a sense of humor.
But also I think it's like because they came from Oxford and Cambridge, there was an element of intellectual superiority that nerds attached themselves to.
They had a thing called the Philosopher's Drinking Song. Eric Idle wrote a song. It's not funny, but it mentions a lot of stuff. And I remember learning this when I was a kid, where this girl tried to tell me a nerd joke, but it was a reference to medieval history or something like that. Mm-hmm. and I had to explain to her that's not a joke, that's a riddle. Because she thought, because it's very clever, and I was like, it would be clever if I understood the references. But since it's not really universal,
unfortunately,
and it requires a certain amount of knowledge, it's really like it's a riddle. It's really a riddle.
To be the thing to do, and then we got a bunch of people to sing it. So Ben Shapiro sings some of it, playing the violin, which is very, very funny. And Dave Rubin. And
this is before he went to rapping school.
This crazy bastard from Concordia University in Canada, Gad Saad, who's a.
I'm bothered by the word bastard. It just always bothers me whenever somebody says bastard. It feels like I'm like, are you like in an episode of Dynasty? Like, who says bastard? That's why I hate that. That's why I hate ACAB. I'm like, I could think of a lot of better words, more accurate than bastard. Bastard feels like kind of soft, but all right.
Evolutionary biologist who regularly dresses in a purple wig and flagellates himself for committing social justice crimes. And so,
I know Gad Saad is. He wears wigs on camera. He's like, he has a degree in something, and he wears colored wigs on camera and pretends to be an SJW. And then every time I see it on Twitter, I type underneath it, sad.
And Janice Fiamengo, who Tammy's talked to, who was a feminist at one point, a women's studies professor who had an epiphany 20 years ago and realized that everything she was teaching was toxic to the hilt and has become...
Hilarious. Are you catching the humor? This is quite humorous. He told you in the beginning, this is quite humorous. You're going to laugh. You're going to like this.
You know, nothing...
Feminists are toxic. All right.
Yeah, nothing is funnier than 15 minutes of exposition.
Yeah, oh my God. I'm sorry to put you
maybe
through this.
The world's most effective deep academic critic of feminist thought. And who else do we have in there? Douglas Murray. A whole host of,
racists and bigots.
The usual suspects. And we've made some puppets. One of them, I'm so embarrassed to even tell you this, but it's so funny. There's a woman named Andrea Dworkin, and she's like, if you stacked up toxic femininity and you put someone at the pinnacle, it would be Andrea Dworkin. And
that's not what toxic femininity is, but all right.
She was a hooker for like 10 years. And
all right, okay.
I'm dead serious. I'm not...
Here we go.
One of them, I'm so embarrassed to even tell you this, but it's so funny. There's a woman named Andrea Dworkin, and she's like, if you stacked up toxic femininity and you put someone at the pinnacle, it would be Andrea Dworkin. And she was a hooker for like 10 years. And I'm dead serious. I'm
dead serious. She was a hooker for 10 years. All right, she was a hooker for, I think, maybe 1 year.
Okay.
She turned to prostitution overseas. I can't remember what country she was in, but she ended up moving there with an abusive boyfriend. And she ran away from him, like dead of night type thing, and she prostituted herself on the streets and had a lot of trauma as a result. And as a result, she is what is known as probably the most famous swerf. She's a swerf.
Okay.
She's a sex worker, exclusionary, radical feminist. All right. She's not a turf. She's not a swerf and turf. She's just a swerf because she sort of, her trauma, she turned her trauma into, and she said a lot of things that she was right about. She was just wrong about this idea of all seduction is rape and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all know. Yeah. What you would call misandry. Some people would call misandry. But I'm just suggesting that she intellectualizes her trauma. All right? The same way Valerie Solanas did. I've never read Andrea Dworkin. I've read Valerie Solanas. I love Valerie Solanas' writing. Some of the craziest stuff I've ever read. I absolutely love that book. Now, Andrea Dworkin, now, what I mean is she intellectualizes her trauma.
Okay.
And her pathology, her anxieties, her anger, all that stuff.
Right.
All right? So does Jordan Peterson. I just think that that's funny because Jordan Peterson's kind of an Andrea Dworkin. except he's not right about anything. Like, she's right about some stuff. You know?
Well, I mean...
She was a Marxist.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, she's very influential. There's just the one thing that she was really wrong about. Which is...
But then again, there were a lot of leftist intellectuals of that generation who were swerved. And
yeah, they're still around. Catherine McKinnon is still around.
Yeah.
I know a girl that argued with her.
Yeah.
A sex worker that got into an argument with her.
Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky's a swerve.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky is a swerve. Is a famous swerve. So Andrea...
Chris Hedges.
Yeah. So I just really want to tell you the background of her prostitution story. So when he says hooker, like he's on Kojak or something.
And also he says it as if like that means you can never be taken seriously.
That's called an ad hominem, folks.
For anything intellectual.
Exactly. That's called an ad hominem. In fact, I think the whole the Foucault stuff about was a genuine pervert.
Yeah.
That whole thing is our ad hominems. Okay. By definition, those are ad homs. Those are saying you don't really have an argument because you're this.
Oh, and it's like, okay, fine. Like there are accusations against Michel Foucault and that he should have gotten in jail for, but it's like he loves Jung and Jung is an anti-Semite. Does that mean Jung's theories can't be evaluated on their merit?
Well, I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson probably agrees with him on that, some of that stuff.
A hooker for like 10 years. And I'm dead serious. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. And a busy one. And she didn't like men, and no wonder, no wonder. And Dworkin's most famous line is, all sex is rape. And
all seduction is rape.
She's quite influential in radical feminist circles, and we made a puppet with her. And it's nude from the waist up, and she has pasties and swings around a stripper's pole. So
I'm not one to shit on people for punching down. It's not my cup of tea, but I really believe that you should punch up your jokes. But that's pretty fucking tasteless, dude. That's about the grossest thing I've ever heard. Seriously, once again, this is a woman who escaped an abusive relationship in order to and prostituted herself on the streets in order to survive and get enough money to go home. I feel like maybe putting pasties on a puppet version of her and spinning her around a pole is well, I mean, it's why we make fun of Jordan Peterson all the time. Right? It's precisely the reason why. Because these are bad people.